Hello, P. Ridge patrons. It is me, Ashton, the social media specialist and programming specialist here at the P. Ridge Library. Today we are joined by Kenneth Wilson, the winner of our poetry contest back in March. Hello, Kenneth. How are you?
Hey, doing good.
That's great. We are very honored today that he has joined us. We're going to be celebrating Juneteenth by reading some African American poetry and talking about the importance of African American poetry today. So, Kenneth, back to you.
Yeah, so today's Juneteenth, which is essentially the day that our Black brothers and sisters celebrate what they would maybe call Freedom Jubilee or Liberation Day, because it happened on June 19th, you know what, I just don't want to get this wrong. Yeah, 1865.
Let's say it was 155 years ago, so do the math.
The reason we celebrate that is because, to my understanding, is that it took that long for Black people in Texas, and I think we say Galveston, Texas usually, to find out that the Emancipation Proclamation had occurred a few years earlier before the war was over. It took them that long to hear the news because there was no internet, there were no phones. They had to find out the old-fashioned way, and with a bunch of Confederate troops still there, it was hard for them to get the news. So that's why we celebrate it. It is a very important holiday. But yeah, so that's Juneteenth in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but but yeah. And so you want me to share a poem or two?
Yes, share with us your book. First, tell us about the poet, I should say, that you chose. Isn't he an Arkansas native?
Yeah, I don't think he's an Arkansas native, but he teaches at the University of Fayetteville. He's been there for a while, to my
University of
understanding.
Arkansas at Fayetteville, yeah.
Yeah, so Jeffrey Davis is his name. This is from his book, Night Angler. It's really good. And this is actually...
You checked it out at the library.
I did. This is actually the first poem in the entire book, but it's actually a two-part poem. So it's long enough to where I think it'll take up enough of your time.
Okay.
And this is called The Modality of Water. Thousands of miles from home, you wake in a cheap hotel with thirst so urgent you have no choice but to find the bathroom faucet with your mouth, drink deep, and understand the daily sigh made by bodies everywhere in this small town. Your new cushy job gives you bottled artesian water, which you consider as you taste the tap. Used to be, there was no good distance between this rivery tang and your fluid desires. Used to be, you'd shove aside a sweaty friend or jab a sibling for the first shot at placing lips to the only neighborhood source. Used to be, no future in yearning. Feel how far you've come? And then part 2. Today a flood, and you see the risk in proximity and life stretched by loving both a river and the rain. To watch what feeds you run dangerous, the biblical possibility of nurture rising into a final rage, father rain, mother river. When it pours and you love when it pours, this river turns tannic with a turbulence you can recognize as home. Mother rain, father river. But what course isn't threatened when the right season licks its lips? What epic confluence can avoid the violence of giving and taking such a shape? Mother, father, river, rain. If given the chance, you too will empty or swell, will lay claim to every unrooted thing in the name of a love you learned from flood. And again, that's Jeffrey Davis from his book, The Night Angler, or Night Angler. Yeah, that's a thing. Yes. What am I talking about now?
I was going to say Kenneth holds a bachelor's degree from Lyon College in Batesville, Arkansas. And he took an African American poetry class.
A bachelor's degree in what?
I said in English.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear you say that, yeah.
Yeah. You took an African American poetry class, did you not?
Yeah, I've taken a lot of poetry and classes, courses, and specifically an African American poetry course, which was really,
You,
really good.
yeah. So as a non-African American man, but a person of color, why is African American poetry so important now?
From the conversations I've had with my Black friends and all the stuff I've learned and I'm still learning, um, it's how you keep the culture alive, especially when you're brought over from a continent and stolen away to a new land, and you have to have some sort of essence of home or some sort of identity. Because as an English major, someone who loves telling stories, especially through poetry, our stories give us our identity. And if we get those taken away from us, we lose who we are. Um, and so, Black culture and poetry and music and food and art is all essential to the Black experience. And so, you know, it, I mean, we can start with Phyllis Wheatley in like the 1700s, I think, before the United States was even a nation. She was an African American and a female, and if I remember correctly, the first like African American who published a compilation of poetry, and she was a woman, and like that's incredible.
Not only that, I'm sure that she also was a slave woman and wasn't really allowed to read.
Yeah,
So
and she, well,
that's
her
so
thing,
awesome.
her owners taught her some stuff, and she eventually got her freedom. Um, but she did live most of her life as a slave. Either way, it's incredible that she was able to make poetry that wowed all of these people in Europe. They were like, "Oh my gosh, she's incredible. Who is this?" Like, "Oh, this is a slave woman in America." And they were like, "What?" So I mean, we could start there and go all the way till today. I mean, I think we all know that art in any form has significance to a culture, but it's really important for Black culture, especially nowadays, because a lot of it, we can see a lot of our popular culture comes from Black culture. All the dances we love, all the music we love. Black people started the blues, they started R&B, they created jazz, which is maybe the only true American music form.
That's a
Um,
conversation for another day.
yeah. So back to, but all those things include poetry because all those things have words and rhythms and rhymes and our storytelling. Um, but yeah, but let me just give you a quick list of names that are in front of me. Langston Hughes, Gwendolyn Brooks, Maya Angelou from Arkansas, Nikki Giovanni, Paul Lawrence Dunbar. There's so many names that there's so many incredible Black poets out there that are still alive and some are past that have incredible stories to tell. And if you end up reading some Black poetry, which I hope you do, I would highly recommend you notice the different subject matter they might have from poets of different colors. Focus on their subject matter. What are they talking about that maybe white poets are not talking about? And try to learn from it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kenneth, so much for that today. Happy Juneteenth, friends. We hope this inspires you to continue to learn about Juneteenth and celebrate Juneteenth along with our Black brothers and sisters. Stay safe, guys. Wash your hands, wear your masks, and we'll see you at another time.